We're going to start the podcast.
Hurry, come see us.
Oh, come here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
This is your host, The Fox, joined here today by...
Hey, it's Jeremy.
And today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and some tips, tricks, failures that you might happen, and how to pick yourself up and to keep rocking. So this is applicable in a lot of different avenues. Myself, I'm here. I have this YouTube channel, obviously, multiple channels. Well, what's kind of some of your background with entrepreneurship?
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Your whole life?
No, I guess. Like CEO.
Yeah, CEO and...
The clothing line and the
Yep.
home repair business.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
What are some ways that you get started up from ground zero?
Legwork.
Legwork, what does that look like?
Just door to door. Well, it depends on what you're doing. Like for CEO, it was just getting out there and meeting a bunch of people.
Networking?
Networking is big.
Yeah, I think that's pretty universal too, depending on, regardless what you want to do. You want to paint houses, you want to sell candles, right? You want to do whatever. Networking, seeing the avenues that you can market yourself, and especially now today in 2025, like so much of that marketing I think is done online. So making sure you have socials. Come here, Willie.
You're good.
Making sure you have socials, making sure you have online networking, make sure you, maybe if you have business cards or flyers, making a website and or social media that is accessible as well.
It's definitely changed in the last 10 years since I've been doing this stuff. Because before, we barely had any Facebook. Willie, come here. You know MySpace was still when I was started CEO.
You made MySpace. So yeah, that's certainly part of
Let
the...
me get my dog. Beat my dog. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so knowing your avenues, knowing how to pivot based on the available technology. I think another really powerful asset right now for businesses and entrepreneurs is the emergence of AI. And we're even going to explore some of that on this channel. Both with creative like art and introduction music and just stuff like that, and just seeing how it can streamline some aspects of your business, especially when you don't have like a huge crew. What is some of the legwork that you've done in the past, and maybe that you might implement here with the reestablishment on creating a crew, and how important is a crew?
Seriously important.
Yeah.
Whether it's a small, just one like a personal assistant or something like that, to a whole team. And with CEO, it was especially big.
Mm-hmm.
Starting a clothing line. And it could take any form. I went to go get milk one time at like 10 o'clock at night, and I went behind what's that audio place that's over by King Soopers, the new one?
I'm not sure.
Oh, anyways, I went by this audio store and I seen a drift car out back. And I went inside the back door and I was like, hey, whose car is this? Because I had stickers. And ended up getting my first drift ride.
Nice.
And it was epic. And I got back home and Nicole's all, I thought you were going to get milk. And I was, but any opportunity.
So do you think then also part of that and a tangent off of that would be like preparation?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have your
nice
stickers with you, or if you didn't have the business card, or you weren't ready to market yourself there, then you would have missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
You think?
That's like when I gave Stack got shirts the first time.
Yeah.
If I didn't have it right there, then it wouldn't have went the same way.
Right. Yeah. I think that might be actually an interesting story too, if you want to go through the setup for that.
But mostly just being about it and getting everybody else on board the same way. Because if everybody's not on board, if they're just like about it, then, but if they think that it's a banger, that it's gold.
Do they believe in the product?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What are some strategies that you implemented to, I don't want to say convince because that makes it look underhanded, but market the fact that you did have a valuable product? And that could be services as well, like talking to clients as well.
It spoke for itself, but me being as about it as I was, was a big, they're like, even if it wasn't, you know what I mean, that it would get them started. They'd be like, oh, wow, really? Because you're so into it, and you got to believe that too.
So you think enthusiasm and dedication are
yeah.
huge?
Yeah, totally.
contributing factors to starting up, because this is again from the bottom.
To get a team, especially.
Right. So, okay, I think that's some valuable information. What are some steps that you take? Let's say, okay, I got 3 buddies. We all believe in this product. We're all focused. We've started our social medias. We've got out there networking. We're going to shows or we're going to conventions. What does some of the legwork look like to get the ball rolling once you do have a solid on-the-line product?
I didn't have a solid product for a while, remember? So, yeah, it was all random. It was just, I would decide, hey, it'd be cool. And then we would do it. So we went into that one crazy with no planning or nothing the whole time.
So do you think so I think a good like business phrase that I've heard a lot is action is always better than inaction.
Oh yeah.
So even though maybe you didn't have the most rock solid plan,
right,
doing something was better than sitting around and just not doing anything.
Yeah, because I was all about it. So was everybody else, even though it was just kind of a concept still.
Yeah. And that's what breathed life into making it happen, is that you had the belief, you had the dedication, and you had the market, I guess, in some ways. I'm not condoning or advocating this, but I think it's also a really interesting story. What was some of your guerrilla marketing tactics that you employed that might be good for some underground stuff with the product?
Shh, don't tell anybody. But we used to go buy a bunch of blank shirts from like JCPenney and maybe cross that. No, for some stores. From the big chain stores. And we would take them home and print them and then return them with our logos on them. And then they would put them right back out on the racks. And we got to go in there and see that not only were they back on the racks, that they made it back to the racks, but that people were buying them.
So that actually probably was a net loss overall.
Oh yeah.
But
it was a
way to get the products in people's hands.
Yeah. Well, to see if anybody was going to buy them too.
Yeah. Right, because then you go back and check and see.
Well, I had a friend that worked there too, so they would keep up on it.
That's even more with it.
Yep.
So I think that's interesting too, like trying to think outside of the box and what are some ways that you can actually get that data market research. I think is important. What are some new innovations that you think now you'd be able to chase or try to innovate on due with the new technologies and new opportunities that we have here in 2025?
Oh man, we just let it run first. I mean, we had zero. I mean, barely. You've seen our old page. We had nothing, and so anything now is good.
Right.
Anything at all, because you used to have to do Craigslist and write ads and stuff like that. And
there was no shop link. There was
no. There was definitely no place where you could just go on there and do your shirts and then have them drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, customize or pick your stuff.
I don't even have to touch anything nowadays. They just do it all on the website and then they order it and I just get a little bit of money.
So I guess just to keep this universal enough,
right?
What is some other things that you do if you products or services that you could ensure confidence in the customer, that you're the guy that they should pick?
Definitely have good reviews nowadays.
Okay.
For anything, especially if you are doing it online, like for the handyman stuff.
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, and just groups.
I think
Facebook
reviews
groups
are huge.
good. Well,
that's why even huge companies like gyms and like grocery stores are like, drop us a review.
Yeah.
Because it's so important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because even on Marketplace, just the reviews you get from there to get your ratings up. So
that's good.
But also I think Facebook is a good one because a lot of the stuff that you can tell who's who, and being able to check that out is important, I think. So if you go on a profile and there's nothing there, then so I check my buyers and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes it more like above board. So do you think then on the social media aspect, it's really important to have a fleshed out media presence with a lot of examples of your work?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how would you go about building something like that?
I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me.
Well, we're just kind of brainstorming
with
it, right? So something that I do is I have a lot of different avenues because I like to do a lot of different stuff. But then instead of keeping it on one platform, okay, I have one YouTube channel and I do fitness, gaming, movie reviews, nerdy theories, my podcast, right? I have 3 of my main channels with some subsequent offshoots, and I categorize them based on information that I think works together, and then I spread that across TikTok, Instagram. You can do X. I don't have that right now, but maybe that's another good step that I could continue to branch out. And having a redundancy and a level of quality that can be expected. You know, if I watch a video or if I see a shirt or an ad and then I go to that channel and I see hundreds of the same thing with good reviews, or I like this podcast and I go back and I see that for years there's podcasts that have been done to this level of quality and thought and similar length, I'm more likely to buy into that company as a service or as a product, because I know that there is a standard of quality, right? And I think that to build that repertoire and that reputation, it takes a long time. So maybe can we talk about some things? How do you encourage yourself or continue to persevere when through failure or lowered expectation or lower than your expectation of success?
I don't know. Let's see. I don't know, bud.
Just in life.
Just in life?
Well, I mean, because you do a lot of different things.
Well, right. That's what I was thinking, because like the CEO thing, that was just so random. And anybody who got a piece of that was just kind of lucky to get a piece of it at the time. And but the handyman thing, you can't just be like random, be like, oh, this one person did a good job. It's like everybody that you know, that you talk to, that you dealt with, has to be able to say, yeah, you do good work.
Right.
Solid.
And have you been in a position where you feel like you didn't give your best? And if you did, how do you recover from that? And how do you, I guess, improve from that?
No, I don't. I always give my best every time. And if it comes up short, then I make sure to fix it.
Okay.
I think that should go for everything else too that you're doing.
Right. Going the extra mile. What does that look like? Maybe an example in your business or in a business.
In a business.
Well, I'm asking personal examples because I
Right.
feel like the stories are really important and impactful, and it's also like, here's where I applied these methodologies. But I think also it's important to have conceptual understanding, because if you're not where you want to be as a business or as a product or service, that how do you go about getting to where you want to go?
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
So your whole life.
Yeah.
But
no, I get what you're saying.
and success is measured in different ways, right? Some people are extremely successful and it's not good enough, and some people are mildly successful to others, but they're extremely proud of what they've built and they're comfortable in their steady growth.
Right.
And I think that that's an important mindset to have too, is steady growth, because we talked about this on the last podcast, recovering from setbacks. You don't want to be the 17-year-old millionaire that peaked and now you don't know where to go with it, and everything's just draining from there. You had a brilliant explosion and now it's like, well, you know,
Right.
you want to steady grow, stumble uphill, learn from mistakes, and grow. So, what do you think about that?
Sorry, this dog. Cut. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's I see what you're saying, and because you don't want to just fizzle out and then just be like, oh, once upon a time, I did this. Be like that dude on Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah,
the football guy.
Resting on your laurels.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
big in sports, and I think also in business.
Yeah.
And the guy that's 60 and he's working the regular job, he's like, dude, I was killing it when I was 35. And it's like, okay, bro.
I've had those moments.
Right, but if you have the mindset that your best years are ahead of you, even if that's not 100% true, it can create environments and opportunities where that becomes the case. And I certainly know a lot of older entrepreneurs, and even like videos of people where they're like, dude, I became a millionaire at 55.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard a lot of that. It comes later. I mean,
and I've been bankrupt 4 times.
It totally makes sense too, because you live and learn, and so
If you do, losers just lose,
right.
And you lose and you settle and you go, man. So, what are some ways to stay out of those traps and those pitfalls, especially in an entrepreneurial business where nothing is guaranteed?
take what you can get while you can get it. It helps.
You're not above anything.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, take it all when you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to start that out by saying don't overdo it, but that's a lie. Overdo it. Absolutely overdo it.
Yeah, because then you'll learn the limits.
And then you'll have, because it's never good to be underbooked.
Yeah.
But if you're overbooked, then that's fine. That means you're doing great.
You can make something happen.
Yes.
And if your
And
quality of product
sub it
is
out or
worth it,
something.
you could say, I'm going to be another 2 weeks and I'll take this
Yes,
much
and
off,
they'll take
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. I got people waiting right now weeks for work.
But I mean, our other my siblings
We're at
have
a job
been
right
the same
now.
way. Yeah.
Literally at a job right now.
So my siblings have been the same way, right? Where it's you just book it out, and don't make decisions for your future self now that will hinder your progress.
Yeah. And
even if right now you're not feeling it or you don't think it's feasible or anything like that. So I'd agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, and then you work hard and then you get a little something, then you have the tendency to want to
Rest on your laurels.
rest a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You got to push. Keep
it.
pushing. Once you get a little something, just keep pushing.
And you'll never break into the next level too if you're always comfortable with the
Exactly.
the progress that you're getting.
You'd be like, oh, I got everything covered. I'm gonna
Yep.
chill back a little bit because unless, but then you pay for it later. Is the thing.
Yeah. So where's the next
unless
horizon?
unless you get good enough to where you're to that next plateau.
Right. So
where you can kick back a little bit.
maybe that's a good segue.
Willie?
Then what's a next? How can you tell when you are about to level up, or when you have leveled up and now the plane has changed, the playing field has changed, and now we have to tailor it to our current circumstances?
Yeah, COVID's a good example of that.
And I think that's a level down.
No, I'm just saying though.
Yeah.
I had to change
the
everything
playing field. Yeah.
I was so busy when COVID hit.
Okay.
I mean, so busy, and everybody had money to spend.
Right.
And I mean, we live in Fort Collins. There's a lot of money here. Mm-hmm. And once COVID hit and everything started going down, and in this last administration, everybody got real chintzy with the money because they were unsure of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that nobody knew. So everybody that wanted their cool garden or their cool little landscape in the back, they were like, that's not the most important thing right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
certainly.
And then a lot of people were getting laid off and losing work, and I work for a lot of business owners and stuff, and they were losing businesses and stuff like that, and it just came to a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm. What are some ways that you can or have tailored your marketing strategies when there's a lull or a dip in in your chosen market?
Footwork.
Footwork.
Go and door to door. I mean, like,
keep marketing yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Everybody you see,
always. Yeah.
Have a card.
Yep.
If you see whatever it is, you see somebody, like, even if I see somebody that's putting groceries in their car, I'll be like, here, let me help you, and then flyer and everything. And
right.
That's brought me thousands of dollars at a time.
Yep. Yeah, and some of your best clients have come just from that.
I put air in somebody's tire I told them their tire was low one time, and they were older and they couldn't do it. I ended up getting years and years worth of work out of that, just from that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so maybe also
the monkey story. Yes, story.
Oh yeah, you want to tell that?
No, I'm just saying though.
I mean, I think that's an interesting image though, even if it doesn't particularly pertain to entrepreneurship. That's a good image for preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah,
creates luck.
Always be helpful and
yeah,
and put yourself out there a little bit. Because if you don't talk to anybody, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right. Even if you're hoity-toity and you think, but my product's the shit, and I have 50,000 on Instagram and all this kind of shit, it doesn't translate in that way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you got to constantly push and market yourself.
And you want a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Diversify your portfolio.
Yes, absolutely. You want everybody to like it.
Yep.
You want little kids to be like, oh, that shit's cool, and you want adults to be like, oh, that's great.
Yep.
And the whole thing, and you got to you got to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
With as much as you can.
Well, I agree.
Not all
and
businesses
I think
are the
even
same.
niche markets, right? Because we went to the candle selling example. I've been to a lot of conventions in the past year, and I've seen, even at crazy, like, dark, like, oddity shows where there's, like, bones and, like, crazy piercings and metalwork, there's somebody selling candles. Right. And then I've been to a gift show where it's all nice and we're selling bead necklaces, and there's a jewelry store and somebody has homemade bread and they're selling candles. and then I'll be at freaking Comic-Con and everybody's
There's
chilling in
candles there
dress
too, huh?
and selling their comics, and somebody's got a candle with Superman on it. So it's like, that's, I think, part of diversify.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Just
everybody
adapt a little bit. Yeah.
everybody can use a handyman. Everybody could use a dope t-shirt or a hat, or, you know, stuff that, if the product's worth it,
Wilson.
and you make a name for yourself, then you can create opportunities in the market that may not present themselves so readily. I think that's another important thing.
Yeah.
So I guess just to kind of upswing it here, just so we can have a hopeful and enthusiastic sort of swing to it.
Mm-hmm.
What are some goals and aspirations that you have that you're working on, and what does that look like, foot to the pavement?
Oh, right now I'm in regroup mode.
Okay.
Because it got a little messy. Everything gets jumbled
Mm-hmm.
in life
Right.
sometimes. And that's another thing too, is be able to roll with stuff and be able to bounce back, because shit does happen. Like you might have a big contract or something, and then that falls through, and that's 30 grand that you were
Counting on,
that's
and
that's your
bidding
rent,
around.
that's your everything.
Mm-hmm.
And your tools and everything else. And then especially if you're halfway through it,
Right.
I mean, because stuff happens. I've had clients die on me halfway
Yeah, and
through
you're
a
like,
job,
shit.
and you can't do it. What do you
And
do?
where's the estate? And
Yeah, that's a
I
long
can't finish
process.
the job, or
That's a long process. Yeah,
did they tell? Yeah, totally. I
yeah,
agree.
because if it's something that they just wanted nice and spruced up or something, it's not necessary. When the family comes in, they're not going to want you to do anything. You know what I mean? They just want you to finish and be done, out of here. And then you got to tell them, you know, especially I have contracts, because like that stuff gets messy quick, because nobody, especially siblings and stuff, they don't want to give nothing up of state, even if it's owed to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you get caught in the middle of something like that. But I'm just using that for an example of, like, anything could happen.
Yeah, no, I think that is a good example. And to go to
Get
the
hurt.
drastic point, I think that's also part of the saying of stumbling upwards.
Well, that's the thing too about having a team.
Yeah.
That's where that comes in handy.
Okay.
Because if you have a team, then there's other, you know what I mean? You got multiple things going. You're not, even though that was big, you can still scramble and get back right away.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was selling insurance, we'd call that putting it in the pipeline.
Yeah.
You might have 8 policies that are up, and then someone passes away, and now that switches to the life policy, or someone got a new person, somebody came and promised X, Y, and Z and then wasn't able to deliver. But if you have all this in the pipeline, even if 20% pans out, that was much better, and that's the work that you needed to do than,
Enough to get you
oh, I
by.
got 2 things going, yes, I'm set.
Yeah, absolutely.
And counting on stuff that might not be able to be
I
counted
still
on.
love it when I get surprise calls.
And
from
that's
clients.
probably part of I don't know about overbooking, but continue to book.
Yeah, because you get to a point to where a lot of times you'll book up and it'll get, Brandon right now is having the same problem, where you'll get booked up and then you're full, and then you got a waiting list and stuff like that. So you stop promoting as much. You stop, you know what I mean? And then to get it to slow down a little bit.
And you finish it out.
But then there's a lull.
Yep.
So you got to be really careful not to do too much down, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I have to stop. Like if it's coming in too fast, there's nothing else to do except for just stop advertising stuff. Just don't promote anymore for a minute.
And do you think with a team,
You can
it's
judge it a lot better.
It's easier to judge, and it's also easier to know when to pull the foot off the gas a little bit and to put the foot on the gas.
Oh, yeah,
Hey, we only got
absolutely.
3 weeks of work coming up. Mark it now.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, this is my last job. What do I do next? Hopefully
Right.
somebody calls.
Right.
And maybe that's a little harder on your own. So
Yeah, and
the team is a huge aspect of entrepreneurship, you'd say.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things, honestly. Having at least one solid person that'll, because you don't catch everything either once you're so busy and you're working 14, 15-hour days. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, I've had jobs where we'd be over there working and fall asleep there, wake up there, and start working again.
And you need a chick in the shop in between all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's important.
Yeah,
So,
because you don't catch everything that, I mean, it does slip by you when you're focused on getting jobs done.
This does sort of backtrack a little bit, but I think it's a good roundabout because it is so important and it's something that's so relevant to the topics that we brought up. What are some recruitment strategies that you have in the past or that you are maybe interested in implementing, or maybe you just know from other things of recruiting that kind of team and how to suss out sort of solid prospects versus people that are really down and then they're going to kind of flake out a little bit?
Just count on everybody flaking out.
Okay.
Just always.
Until they've proven themselves?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause
I think that's important too.
Because nobody cares about your stuff like you do.
100%.
Period. No matter what it is.
Yep.
So no matter if they say, yeah, I'll be there, man. I'll help you out. Don't worry about it. I got this. And then they either show up long enough to get what they need and then ditch out on you, or to try to get what they need without helping at all.
Right.
And then, or just something comes up, it's their life, everybody's got their own life and stuff. And if you count on any one person too much, then you're screwed. Because then that throws your next stuff. It's a chain reaction. It's bad.
So do you think maybe also part of recruitment would be somebody that has a background or an interest in what you are doing?
Yeah, but mostly just make sure that you can do everything by yourself if you have to.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Just have it covered.
Set it up to where it helps, but if everything falls through the roof, it'll still keep running.
Because sometimes it's even more hurtful than helpful, or not having anybody at all. It hurts worse.
Right.
Because then you're stuck paying somebody too.
Right.
That hasn't done anything except make more work for you.
So do you think then the screening process is super important when recruiting a team?
Oh yeah.
What does some of that look like? Like screening for a team.
Somebody who believes in you, in your product, in your business, whatever it is, that's really believes in you and not just says just to get whatever they need.
Right, because at the end of the day, that's why you got the job, right?
What? To get whatever
you got a job, you're trying to provide for yourself. And so it's like, why are you working as CEO instead of Target or instead of King Soopers? Like, what makes you not only believe in this product but believe in this company and willing to trade your time for what I'm willing to give you out of it?
Right.
What does some of that sussing out look like?
Just has to have, I guess, whatever whoever it is looking for. I mean, whatever that might be. Some people like to do it because they like the gear. Some people like to do it because they like the status.
Yeah, the prestige.
Some people like to go in the back door to every show. Some people like meeting their heroes. Some people like going to wrestling and meeting Mick Foley. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that that's also something maybe to market when you are explaining the job and you are in that recruitment process, to say, hey, I'm not necessarily, if this is where you're at with it in your business, hey, I'm not going to pay you more than Home Depot will, but you're going to do so many things that nobody that works at Home Depot would ever be able to do.
Right.
Is that extra worth it for you?
Right. And a lot of people would like a job where they can go to shows and smoke and that's part of their job, and then on the other hand, my other jobs, it's none of that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's absolutely zero of that. And then when it's Friday night or Saturday night, time to go to a show, and it's time to gear up and get the crowd, and that's the appeal. That is the appeal. That's all they want to do is, oh, I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah. No, I've seen that at a lot of conventions too. Even with the candle sellers, it's like, okay, I love making candles, and you're saying 5 hours a month I gotta go and sit at this booth and meet new people and market the cards, and 120 hours a month I'm making candles.
Yeah.
I can do that trade-off, and that's something I appreciate and that I can do, right? Letting them really know up front, here's what the job is, here's what it entails, here's the perks, and here's what I expect.
Yeah. Yep. And you don't get the perks without what's expected of you.
Yeah, of course. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, because even on Monday,
you can't just show up when it's game time.
Yeah,
you got to go to practice.
On Monday after a weekend of promoting and stuff, and you're all whooped and hungover or whatever it is, you still got to come and straighten up.
Yeah. Which you yourself are going to do anyways.
Yeah.
But you need the team that's willing with it. Right.
But there's, people do what they do. Nobody's allowed to get that hammered, but still, a weekend, believe it or not, a weekend of promoting is wears on you.
Yeah.
Especially traveling and stuff.
Yeah, I bet. And the environments and the late nights. So I guess just to wrap this up, and I think there's been a lot of good golden tidbits here. What is your advice? And I think this is even for yourself. So you can kind of step out a little bit and say, here's some things I'm working on and I want to implement. What is your advice for a young or older entrepreneur who is establishing or reinventing their product or their business in 2025?
You just have to get that spark back. You have to get that. You got to love it again. You got to, because you can't fake it. You cannot fake it. If I'm half-assed about it, I'd be like, oh yeah, choke him out. Well, but if you have to be about it,
You gotta love it.
Yeah, there's no, not just love it, because you could love it and not be about it still. Maybe not outwardly. You know what I mean? But you have to people have to know that that's what's up. That and then once you get that enthusiasm going, I'm getting ready to do it right now. So
Yeah, I'd love to do a sequel to this and maybe do some stories. So right now, that was Entrepreneurship. I think I might title it Entrepreneurship Basics. That way, when we do a sequel to this, maybe in a couple months or a year down the line, we can do Entrepreneurship Evolved to talk about some stories and some strategies and some more evolved concepts on this. But if you enjoyed this podcast, you want to see more of these podcasts, we talk about everything, self-help, betterment, science fiction, conspiracy theories. We do every kind of fun kind of thing. So click that like button, subscribe, click the bell notification so you never miss an upload. And yeah,
and check out the new intro.
check out the new intro. We're gonna post a video and then it'll be in
Play
the
it now.
beginning here.
Give him a snippet.
Let's play it right now. Okay.
Give him a snippet.
So if you're still on the video, you're an OG. Give me 1 sec.
It's worth it. I'm giving a little plug here for this app.
Okay, intro at the outro.
Okay,
Here we go.
ready? I wrote this. No, I'm just kidding.
Here we go. 3. I don't know how this is gonna come out, so if you got earphones, warning.
Multiverse Infinitum, spinning in your ear. From the edge of a black hole to the things we all fear. Science and fiction in a cosmic blend. Ready yourself till the multiverse ends.
Boom. Click that like button, subscribe, click the bell notification. You never miss an upload or stream. We'll catch you on the next one. As always, have yourselves a wonderful day. Peace.
See ya.